Welcome on the channel Voices of Reddit. Today we have an intriguing story about the
I am a 32-year-old man, and for most of my adult life, I've been part of a close-knit group of friends scattered across North America, in both the United States and Canada. Half of us met during our high school and college years, forging bonds that felt unbreakable. The rest joined our circle through online gaming, which became a central part of our lives. We would spend hours each week immersed in virtual worlds, battling monsters, completing quests, and simply enjoying each other's company. Our shared passion for gaming not only strengthened our friendships but also bridged the distances between us. Every year, without fail, we planned at least one big trip together. Sometimes as many as 12 of us would gather, turning our online camaraderie into real-life adventures. Those trips were the highlights of my year, moments where laughter was abundant, and memories were made. I have always prided myself on getting along with just about anyone. In most of my social circles, I am well-liked and considered easygoing. However, about a year ago, a new member joined our group, a woman who I'll call Lisa. From the outset, there was something about Lisa that didn't sit right with me. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it was. Perhaps it was her tone during our gaming sessions, or maybe it was subtle comments she made that felt like digs. Regardless, I found myself increasingly irritated by her presence. At first, I tried to brush it off, telling myself that it was just an adjustment period, but as months went by, my irritation turned into genuine frustration. Lisa was ever present. She joined every gaming session, participated in every group chat, and was involved in every plan. It became nearly impossible to interact with any of my friends without also interacting with her. The tipping point came during our annual vacation in March. My wife and I had been looking forward to it for months. We envisioned a relaxing getaway with friends, filled with fun activities and quality time. Instead, the trip was marred by tension. Lisa's behavior seemed passive-aggressive towards me, and I felt like I was walking on eggshells the entire time. My wife noticed my discomfort, and the vacation we'd invested so much in, both emotionally and financially, felt wasted. Upon returning home, I decided to confide in my closest friend from the group, whom I'll call Mike. Mike and I have known each other since college, and he's someone I trust implicitly. I shared my concerns about Lisa, expressing how her presence was affecting my enjoyment of our group activities. Mike listened patiently but ultimately told me that he thought my concerns were unfounded. He suggested that perhaps I was overreacting and encouraged me to try to move past it. Taking his advice to heart, I made a concerted effort over the next few months to adjust my attitude. I told myself that maybe I was the problem, that perhaps I needed to be more accommodating. But despite my best efforts, nothing changed. Lisa remained a constant fixture, and every interaction with her left me feeling drained and agitated. I also have ADHD, which sometimes impairs my impulse control. I began to worry that my frustration might eventually boil over into a public confrontation, something I desperately wanted to avoid. I didn't want to ruin anyone else's good time or become a source of drama within the group. Recognizing that the situation wasn't improving, I made the difficult decision to start distancing myself from the group. I didn't want to create a scene or cause unnecessary conflict, so I took subtle steps to fade into the background. I muted and hid group chats, stopped logging into our gaming platforms, and even quit our ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign under the guise of being too busy. I told the group that I was starting a full-time online college program to explain my sudden unavailability. My wife was supportive of my decision. She understood how much the situation was affecting me and agreed that stepping back might be the healthiest choice. Initially, I hoped that taking a break would help me clear my head and perhaps return to the group with a fresh perspective. In the meantime, I focused on learning new skills unrelated to gaming. It kept me occupied for the first few weeks, and I found some enjoyment in pursuing different hobbies. However, I eventually returned to gaming, albeit alone. The solitude was a stark contrast to the lively group sessions I was used to, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. Throughout this period, only Mike reached out to me, and even then, it was infrequent and surface level, just random memes or brief messages. Attempts to engage him in deeper conversations often fell flat. I managed to convince him and another friend from a different circle to visit me over a weekend, which was a welcome respite, but it was clear that things weren't the same. I missed the camaraderie, the laughter, and most of all, I missed my friendship with Mike. Before he moved to a different state 6 months ago, he'd lived with my family for over 2 years. We were used to daily interactions, and the sudden distance was hard to cope with. After 2 months of minimal contact, Mike mentioned in a text that I hadn't been around much. Seizing the opportunity, I explained that I was still grappling with my feelings about the group situation and thought it best to remove myself. His response was brief and didn't invite further discussion. I sensed that he might be annoyed or tired of the subject, and we haven't talked about it since. The realization that no one else in the group had noticed my absence, or at least hadn't reached out, was a bitter pill to swallow. It made me question my place in the group and whether my presence had ever truly mattered. At home, life continued as usual. I have a wonderful wife and 2 amazing children who keep me busy. My wife works the night shift from 9 p.m. to 6:30 a.m., and I handle the evening routine with the kids, putting them to bed before settling down for some quiet time. With no family nearby to help with childcare, socializing outside the house is a rarity for both of us. Despite being occupied, I couldn't shake the feeling of isolation. I didn't necessarily feel lonely in the traditional sense, but there was an emptiness where my friendships used to be. My social anxiety didn't help matters. While most people perceive me as confident and outgoing, it's a carefully crafted facade. I avoid situations where I feel uncertain about my social standing, which limits opportunities to form new connections. Therapy isn't a feasible option due to the prohibitive costs and my insurance coverage. In the past, therapists have commended my self-awareness and coping mechanisms, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm struggling. Reflecting on everything, I wondered if perhaps I was the problem all along. Maybe my issues with Lisa were unfounded, as Mike had suggested. If that were the case, distancing myself was still the right choice to avoid causing unnecessary conflict within the group. My wife and I are still planning to attend PAX East in Boston next year, a trip we had committed to long before these issues arose. The entire group will be there, but we've decided to stay separately and hope to avoid crossing paths to minimize any potential stress or awkwardness. It's been 4 months since I started distancing myself, and while some days are easier than others, I can't help but feel a sense of melancholy. I miss my friends, especially Mike, but I also recognize that this might be the new normal. Perhaps over time, the feelings of regret will fade, and I'll find peace in my decision. Ultimately, I want what's best for everyone involved. If my presence was causing tension, then stepping away was the right thing to do. I only hope that one day, I might find a way to reconnect, or at the very least, make peace with how things turned out.